The unfortunate reality is most small business owners are trapped. They're working 70-hour work weeks, but they're terrified to hire someone because what if it doesn't work out? Meanwhile, they're leaving money on the table and destroying their lives and their health and their personal relationships. I know from experience, so been there, done it. There's a specific moment in every business when that hiring shifts from risky to necessary. Miss it, and you'll either burn out, maybe end up divorced, maybe end up depressed, or stay small forever, neither of which is probably the ideal outcome. So today, I'm going to show you exactly how to identify that moment and what happens if you ignore it. Here we go. Thanks for watching the video today. I'm Diego Diego, and today's video is to help you think about hiring. You can see what we were going to learn in the video right on screen here today. And I want to let you know this isn't theory. This is based on real businesses, mine and other people's, that successfully made this transaction and businesses that didn't. And I know firsthand, hiring can be hard, it can be scary, it's intimidating, but it eventually gets to be the necessary evil when your business gets to be a certain size. I'll never forget, about 5 years ago, I knew someone who ran a very successful business. The problem was they did everything themselves, and it was pushing them to the absolute max. Their body was breaking down. I could tell they weren't feeling so great emotionally, and their business was starting to struggle. Forget about trying to expand. That was never going to happen with the one-person labor force that they had, but they could have easily expanded because they had more market demand than they could fulfill. I talked to this person and said, why don't you hire someone? And I got back a whole litany of different excuses about why they couldn't do it. Some were valid, some were probably overcomable. At the end of the day, they never hired anybody. They ended up scaling that business back and leaving their own business to go work for somebody else. It's unfortunate, and it was a choice they had to make out of necessity. So they chose scaling back and giving up the business and working for somebody else instead of hiring somebody to work for them. That's the choice many of us might have to face when this all comes around, because this story isn't unique. Studies show that 82% of small businesses fail, citing business owner burnout as the primary factor. Think about that. 82% of businesses failing because that person running the business just can't give anymore. The tragedy of it all is it's completely preventable. When you step back and think about hiring, there's 3 signs that basically scream, you must hire someone now. 1, the revenue projection point. Write down every job you turn away this month, add up the total value. What's that number? That's the annual salary of the employee that you're afraid to hire. When you decline opportunities and those opportunities exceed the employment costs, you're literally paying yourself or paying nobody to not hire. Indicator 2, the quality degradation line. This happens when you find yourself having standards that are slipping. Emails start taking days to get responded to instead of hours. Deliveries are late. Small mistakes multiply. Customers start with, I know you're busy, but you start letting things go. Good enough becomes the new norm. And it's not because you're bad at your job. It's just that you're doing 3 or 4 jobs all at once. The real cost here isn't the mistakes, it's the reputation that takes years to build and an instant to destroy. Once quality of product and quality of customer service starts to slip. Indicator 3, the burnout trajectory. Track your hours for 1 week. If you're consistently working past 6 p.m., assuming you start in the morning, more than twice a week, you're on the same path as that aforementioned person that I talked about before. This isn't a badge of honor. People on Instagram might thumb you up, give you hearts, all that great stuff for GSD and working so hard, but it's not something you should celebrate. It's actually a countdown to crisis. It's the last hurrah before everything melts down. Now, there are times when you should hire, but there's also times when you should not hire. And these are ways to think about not hiring. There's two expensive mistakes to avoid when it comes to hiring. Mistake number one is hiring to fix chaos. If you can't write down what needs doing in clear steps, you're not ready to hire someone. You'll spend more time managing confusion than you will save by leveraging that hiree's labor. The test for this is, can you explain the role that you're hiring in a 5-minute video? If not, document it first, hire second. Mistake number 2 is hiring on hope. Business will pick up once I have help. That's actually gambling with somebody else's mortgage. The math looks like this. If you hire somebody that costs you $3,000 a month, you're going to need to either have $18,000 in reserves, 6 months of potential pay to pay that person, or $3,000 in guaranteed additional monthly revenue to cover their salary, or some combination of both that gives you at least 6 months of coverage. No exceptions here. Do the math. When it comes to hiring or not hiring, there's a true cost, and this is what people really need to think about. So, what not hiring really costs? This is the lost revenue calculator. Here's how you think about it. First, think about all the hours a week that you spend on sub $25 per hour tasks. Note that number. Find your true hourly value, which is the annual revenue of your business divided by $2,000. Now you can use those numbers to calculate your weekly loss. That's the hours that you work times your rate minus $25. That annual cost of delegating is just simply the weekly cost times 50. When that number's big, it'll show you how much not getting somebody actually costs you. So that thing that you thought was going to be super expensive, if you did hire them, well, now you look at it and you say, oh, not hiring is also very expensive. I might want to think about hiring somebody. Another way to think about not hiring someone is what's called the growth prevention tax. Every hour on operations means working in your business instead of on your business. That prevents things like business development, systems improvement, and relationship building. The highest value task that a boss, leader, CEO of the company should be doing. CEOs of a company shouldn't necessarily be packing boxes or cleaning toilets or cooking the hamburgers. They should be thinking about, how do I sell more hamburgers? The last way to think about the cost of not hiring is the health degradation bill. You have burnout recovery time. If you hit bottom, it's 3 to 6 months to bounce back. In the meantime, you're just missing out on life. Your love for life often diminishes severely. I've had that happen. Productivity goes dramatically down during burnout. You could have stress-related medical costs. People get on addiction. They abuse chemicals. They do accidents. They get depressed. You might need to talk to somebody, which is actually healthy, but all this stuff costs money and it's avoidable. And if you burn out and you can't work, you're obviously losing business during the recovery. Oftentimes, too, if you're a single person business and you burn out, the whole business shuts down. Look at these three as a totality and add them up. When you look at the cost of each, not hiring is usually more expensive than hiring. Hiring's scary. You might not have ever done it. You might have never managed people before. You might be nervous about taking on somebody who's just a scumbag who's going to take advantage of you, or somebody who's just some slacker. I get it. I've seen them. So I fully understand and empathize. So here's how you tiptoe your way into it, or just dip your toe into the water of hiring. You want to build sustainable employment by starting fractional or small. Begin with one employee for just a small chunk a week. That person I talked about in the beginning who was scared to hire, you don't have to hire somebody full-time 40 hours a week right out of the bat. Can you get somebody who can just come in 10 hours a week? In today's gig economy, there's actually a lot of people that like the freedom of a 10-hour-a-week job. It works for them. So think about that, and then you could scale up as they prove themselves, as revenue grows. There's lower risk here. It's easier to commit to less hours. And many people you're actually looking to hire want this type of work versus full-time work. You can also think about a multi-value framework, because one hire has multiple benefits. There's direct task completion, meaning that person gets things done. There's system documentation as they learn, so you can make records, so hiring the next person's easier. You can get a fresh set of eyeballs on the business to root out inefficiencies. And often when you're a manager, an accountability to you that helps improve your performance. You have to set them up for success and give them the opportunity to succeed, so it forces you to up your game and really know what's going on in your business. There's also the competence reality check. Before you hire, you got to understand things like there's contractors and employee classification. The IRS is strict around this, so look into that. Do I just hire you as a contractor or an employee? If you take on an employee, there's things like workers' comp, payroll tax. That's employee burden. So if you're going to pay somebody, I know this isn't the minimum wage, but we'll do it to keep the math simple. If you pay somebody $10 an hour, you're probably going to actually have to pay them something like $11.50 to $13 an hour, all in by the time you account for payroll tax, workers' comp, all those things at the end of the day. So don't just think of, oh, I need this many hours at this labor rate. Add in that burden, because it will come out of your pocket at the end of the day. There's local and federal compliance, simple things, put up documentation, put up posters to inform workers of their rights. It's easy to find that for your state. So this all sounds good. The logical part of it, which we've already hit in this video, where we look at numbers and quantify things, that all sounds good. But the hardest part of anything is usually making that emotional leap. Oftentimes in life, we don't make decisions when we know they're right because we're just not mentally there. It's why a lot of us were ready to get married for 5 years, but we just keep pushing it back. Or we're like, yeah, I'm ready to have kids in a little bit. And you push it back, push it back, push it back when you were always ready. So make the emotional leap. The hardest part usually isn't the money if you're thinking about hiring, because the money's there, you're successful, you're doing well. It's really identity. A lot of times we build the business. It's our baby. Every detail matters, where we struggle to give up control. But remember the cautionary tale I gave you earlier. That person built this really successful business. It was their baby, but they ended up killing their baby. And that's because they couldn't get somebody to come in and help raise that baby and foster it into a next stage of its life. And that's a big regret, I think, for a lot of people. I get it. I've had to hire people. I've had to fire people. And giving up trust can be very hard. Here's a simple way to work people up the trust ladder. One, start with a clearly defined task, just one. can you do this and do this well? When they ask questions, you document them, and that becomes your training manual. 3, gradually increase responsibility and accept that 80% of your quality is the goal. Don't expect anybody who works for you to match your output in terms of quality, speed, or effort. Not going to happen. They can get 80% of the way there. That's on you. The other thing I would say from hiring people, set them up for success. Give them the tools they need to succeed. Whenever somebody messes something up, in my business, I usually try and say, what did I do wrong? Maybe I didn't make them aware of something. Maybe I didn't train them well enough. Maybe I didn't provide them with the right tool or guidance. Now, sure, people screw up, but a lot of times it's up to us as business owners to lower the chances as much as possible of people screwing up. And often this means we have to have an identity shift as a business owner. You have to realize you're not giving up control. You're graduating from worker to builder. Your new job isn't doing excellent work. It's building systems for others to do excellent work. The shift that you're going to have to make here, this is mandatory for growth. Fight it, and you'll end up just another cautionary tale. Many business owners have been through this. I remember talking to another business owner, Paul Grieve, who owns Pasture Bird and Primal Pasture out here in Southern California, and he explained it to me like this. We used to pack all of our own meat. Eventually, we hired somebody, and we were reluctant initially to give up that control. But what I realized, and that's him saying it, was when I hire somebody, they come in and they focus on packing all day. When I was doing the packing, I would think about packing and banking and marketing and growing the business. I had to worry about 10 things at once. So the packing actually suffered. When I stepped back and gave that task off to somebody else, their only role when they come in was to focus on packing well and representing our company to the customer through that package that went out to them. And they could excel at that one single thing when I never could. And that story has always resonated with me. And I think it tells really well how a lot of business owners need to make that leap by giving up control to do better for the business in the long run. If you're considering hiring, here's a 30-day roadmap. Week 1, the audit. Track every task that you do for 7 days. Categorize them into 10 $100 and $1,000 value work. You'll know what that means for your business. Circle all the $10 tasks. Those are your target for hiring. Week 2, the documentation. Pick 10 to 20 hours of $10 work. Record yourself doing each task once to help train somebody who does it and to get a full idea of what that task involves, how long it should take. If you video it, hey, just watch this video. Now you know how I do it. And then write 1-page guides for each of the tasks. That's your training manual. Create a success looks like blank criteria so they know when I do it, this is what's good, this is what's bad, we know what success is. Step 3 or week 3, the test. Hire a freelancer or find somebody to do one task for 5 hours a week. Use the documentation you created to train them and get them up to speed. Note every question they ask and refine your guides. Week 4, make your decision. Calculate, did delegation actually create profitable time for me as a business owner? When I gave those tasks up, could I use that time for more valuable tasks? Review, what if I scaled it from the 5-hour-a-week trial that I did to 20 hours per week? And then commit, set hiring dates, and identify any blockers that you might have to hiring somebody, whatever that might be. Now you've hired somebody. It's your first week. Congratulations. Let's set them up to succeed. Day 1, orientation. Get them used to things. Don't overwhelm them. Show them one task thoroughly. Give them one password. Set up a communication channel so they can relay feedback and questions. End early because overwhelm kills retention. One thing I could say early on is try and identify and maybe even ask the person you're hiring, what is your learning style? Do you want me to talk to you? Do you want me to show you? Do you want me to write down how you do things? Because everybody learns different. And some people can process information if I talk really quick, and some people need me to really slow down. If you just assume you know how this person learns, you're going to set them up for failure. Been there, done that. The other thing I would say from personal experience is make sure they know this is how you want things to be done. There isn't room for interpretation. Don't wing it yet. Don't try and make it better. Don't try and do it more efficiently. Start with this process. Once you do it this way really well, for 30 days, we can talk about changing. Because when people start going rogue, that's when things can get missed. You know your business better than anybody else. Set standards early for what is expected in terms of how they set up their job site, how they do their jobs, how they clean up at the end of the day. Make those expectations known on day one. If you don't do it then, it's much harder to train them later on. Trust me. If all's gone well, you can then implement a 30, 60, 90-day progression. Days 1 through 30, you shadow somebody, you assist them, and then send them off solo to do their core tasks. Day 31 to 60, you can give them added complexity and start to do some things autonomously or free will. You can kind of freestyle a little bit. Day 61 to 90, they should be working independently most of the time. So this isn't, I hire somebody today and you're doing everything on your own tomorrow. We're talking 90 days to gear them up to that. Expect when you hire somebody, there's going to be some hand-holding early on. And that means your productivity will dip, or you're going to need to borrow hours from somewhere else in life early on to make up for this hand-holding. Very few things you can just let somebody loose on unless it's an extremely basic task. So just keep in mind when you hire somebody that there will be this ramp-up period. But what if it all goes wrong? You need to have an exit strategy before you need it. So you're going to think about this ahead of time in case things don't work out. I was talking to a friend who works for Enterprise, and it was interesting because they go through a lot of employees. They hire 2% of the people that interview with them, shockingly low percent. And they have a lot of turnover for people that they do hire, and they have to let go of a lot of people because they can't do very basic things like stay off their phone and show up on time. So be prepared that you're not going to have your lifetime employee when they show up. You're not getting that egg crane pool from day one. So have a clear 90-day probation period, do weekly check-ins, document them so everybody's on the same page, address issues early, openly, honestly, and kindly. If something's bugging you from the beginning or not working, express that. If you hold it back because you're afraid to be confrontational or embarrass somebody, you're going to bear the weight of that for a long time. So make it open early on, address performance issues immediately, and have some sort of legal termination process ready. Know what it means if you're going to let somebody go, because eventually you'll have to. It's not fun. It's not easy, but it is the reality of being an employer. The moment that changes everything. There's that day. It's coming. Your phone will ring when you're at lunch. A customer needs something, and your employee will handle it perfectly without you having to be involved. That's not you losing control or giving up control. It's you gaining freedom. But that only comes after you make that leap. Remember the story I told about the farmer who waited for the perfect time to hire or the perfect employee. He never did. He waited too long and eventually scaled his business way back and left to work for somebody else instead of having somebody work for him. Your choice isn't whether to hire, it's whether to grow, plateau, or risk bumping your head on that ceiling and falling back and going splat on the pavement. Whether you want to build a business or own a job, the choice is up to you. Owning a job's no fun. I know those people, and they are mega stressed. It's also your choice whether you want to scale this into something or burn out trying to do it yourself, because you won't scale it where you want to go by yourself. If this jives with you, if you want to follow along, here's this week's assignment. Run the audit that I showed earlier. Calculate what not hiring really costs. Then ask yourself honestly, am I more afraid of hiring someone or becoming another cautionary tale? That statement is often the one I think that'll really send some reality into things. What would you rather do? Take on the scary unknown of hiring or take on the scary unknown of burning out and having your business crumble? One at least gives you upside success. The other, it's all downside. The end of the day, your first hire isn't an expense. It's the day you stop being just a worker and start being a business owner. It's where you transition from owning that job to owning a business. The business that survives isn't where the owner does everything perfectly. It's where the owner builds systems and people who deliver excellence without them being involved. The moment to hire isn't when you're ready. It's when not hiring costs more than hiring. And for a lot of you watching this, that moment is probably now. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, if it resonated, and you're still watching, let me know what you thought in the comments below. And as always, thank you, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.